Talents and glyphs in Naraka can be confusing, but with the information in this video, you can find a good build for any character, game mode or playstyle. The most important stats you can gain from glyphs are energy and rage. Energy lets you dodge by pressing shift more often, which increases your mobility and survivability. Rage lets you use your ultimate ability more often. Choosing more energy means that you will have less rage and vice versa, so this is the basic trade-off for most builds in Naraka. The red, purple and green glyphs all follow this logic, so please focus on them for now. Only the blue glyphs are different, but we will talk about those later. This is what an energy build looks like. 6 times maximum energy in green, 6 times dodge energy cost reduction in purple, and 6 times energy per second in red. Very straightforward. A rage build is a little more complicated. The reason is that removing all energy glyphs entirely makes you a sitting duck, so you should keep some energy glyphs. But you can put more rage glyphs than some patches ago, because an update in July increased the basic energy of characters and reduced the gains of energy glyphs. So let's gradually change this energy build into a rage build. First, we do not touch the green glyphs. Removing the green maximum energy is the most crippling thing you can do to your energy. At the same time, adding green initial rage is the least impactful thing you can do to increase your rage, since it will only affect your early game. So all green glyphs stay on maximum energy. So if you want to add some rage, you start with the red glyphs. Your ability to dodge will not be affected very much if you remove red energy glyphs, which only regenerate plus 1.57% energy per second each. Meanwhile, red rage glyphs give you plus 6.67% rage per second, which is a good deal. What's nice is that red rage also helps you regain your ult outside of combat. You can start with 2, for example, try it out, and if you feel like you want more, you gradually add more red rage. If you are already full red rage and you want even more rage, you convert some purple dodge energy cost reduction glyphs into purple rage glyphs. Between purple rage per damage and rage per damage taken, the first is more popular. The reason is that it is questionable to center your strategy around taking damage. Besides, characters that can tank a lot of damage while they are in ult, such as Kurumi or Tianhai, will be stuck at 0% rage until their ult is over. But you will encounter some frontline players who still mix in some rage per damage taken. Regardless of whether you go for pure rage per damage or a mix of rage per damage and damage taken, I recommend that you put at most 3 purple rage glyphs in total. Many players who are on rage builds do not like to sacrifice more than 3 purple dodge energy cost glyphs because they want to keep some survivability and the option to play more energy intensive weapons such as dagger and longsword. This build is the highest rage I would personally go, but if you really want to, you can go even higher rage or experiment some more. One thing to keep in mind: it is generally a good idea to keep enough energy so that you can dodge 3 times in a row. You can set up your build and test it in free training and custom rooms. What is better, energy build or rage build? The answer mostly depends on the game mode and the character or team comp. In solos, you want to run full energy or almost full energy on any character. In trios, some characters need mostly energy, while others need a fair amount of rage to do their jobs. We will talk about characters and team comps later. Before that, let's talk about the blue glyphs. First, you should use a minimum of 3 grappling distance. This is necessary for running away, chasing enemies and applying grapple stagger from a long distance. If you can't do any of this because your grapple is too short, you will have a bad time. The other 3 blue glyphs are pretty much flexible between grappling distance, skill cooldown and luck, depending on your preference and gameplay. Moving on to characters in trios and their builds. Kurumi and Ziping play energy because their ults are up fast and they tend to ult late into the fight. They can make good use of the energy to stay alive. Matari and Wuchen should have some red rage because their ults are not up that fast. I wouldn't go purple rage because they need the energy to stay alive, since they're often the only escape option of their party. Viper should play energy heavy to stay alive because she has no combo breaker, no movement skills and no healing abilities. Some red rage is okay, but purple should usually be energy. Since her F2 is really oppressive, some people like to run extra skill cooldown on her. Yueshan, Tianhai and Feria want to transform as often as possible, and they don't need energy while they are in transformation, so they should have full red rage and some purple rage. In some lineups, they could arguably go lower grappling distance in blue, because they are not going to use spools in the 30 seconds while they are in ult, but their teammates need grappling distance to adequately support the transformer ult. Temulch and Yoto have strong ults, and they don't need energy to make use of the ults, so they should have full red rage and some purple rage, or at least full red rage. If Yoto uses a lot of spools to stagger enemies, so her Viper teammate can get closer and silence them, or for her Wuchen teammate to headshot them, extra grappling distance might be good on her. All other characters that are currently available can play energy build, rage build, or a hybrid. Now that you have understood the logic, you can apply this way of thinking also to newly added characters that may come out. Keep in mind that this logic applies to trios. In solos, you usually want a very energy heavy build. Some glyphs are often misunderstood or simply not worth it. For example, coin build does not generate enough coins to justify sacrificing energy or rage for it. Shadow corruption resistance doesn't solve the problem that you cannot heal in late shadows. Grappling speed is not so important because most players do not even play full grappling distance, so playing full grappling distance yourself is generally more than enough to outrun or catch enemies if your movement is okay. Enemy HP bar time is just worthless compared to what you would be sacrificing to get it. Cairn health losing speed is not worth it compared to energy or rage. The speed at which heroes bleed out increases late game, but if someone taps or tethers to you fast, the cairn health loss is almost fully negated. Initial rage usually is not worth sacrificing the most important energy glyph for it, and rescue speed only affects tapping allies, meaning Kurumi's F is not affected by it. And there is a lot of debate about luck glyphs, which are meant to increase the rarity of loot you find in troves, lucky soul jade bags, wishing wells, and even the amount of coins you find in game. Some people think luck is worthless, while others think it's a must to have at least some luck glyphs. During beta, luck glyphs were OP. Then they were nerfed to the point of almost being useless. There is an old video and Reddit thread that investigated this with respect to gold troves, although gold troves alone do not give you the full picture. Since then, luck has been buffed again, but as far as I know, we do not have any actual data. Right now, I personally think luck glyphs are okay, and since some tournament players run at least one blue luck, I trust that they are not worthless. Running shop discount can work out in trios if the full team is running it, and you plan to do some quests and shop a lot. If that sounds interesting to you, I recommend taking 3 blue Rift Dealer discount. Unfortunately here, you have to sacrifice some green maximum energy glyphs, but you should put no more than 4 or 5 green Rift Dealer discount. 6 green discount would make you unable to dodge 3 times in quick succession. I don't recommend combining this shop discount build with a rage build unless you are on a transformer or you know exactly what you're doing. In the current meta, sacrificing too much energy can really hurt you and you get grabbed by Tianhai unnecessarily, among other things. And by the way, Rift Dealer discount is not the only case where you should coordinate your build with your team. Sometimes, if you plan to combo ult someone with Valda and Tianhai, for example, it might be worth generating a similar amount of rage on both characters so you can both ult at the same time. This video is meant to give you some initial guidance and examples. I hope it helps you. Have you changed your build? Let me know in the comments. There are always exceptions and out-of-the-box strategies that a video like this cannot be expected to cover. For example, some players can make full red and full purple rage work on characters such as Yueshan and Yoto. Plum also told me about a Chinese pro player who used green initial rage. If you want to learn more, you should do your own testing, talk to experienced players, and watch competitive gameplay.